If you're a health or a life coach who wants to create your signature coaching program, then stay tuned. I'm going to share what a signature coaching program actually is, why you need one, and a step-by-step guide to creating your first program. Let's dive in. Hi there, welcome to the Wholehearted Business Show. I'm Laura. I help health and life coaches get more clients, grow their businesses, and live the best lives while they do it. And today on the show, I'm talking all about how to create a signature coaching package. Now, this is such an interesting topic. I'm really looking forward to explaining and breaking all of this down. As someone who has been coaching and working with clients for over 12 years now, this is something that I have definitely developed in my own business, and I'm really excited to share the processes that I've used and the different things that you can do to help create a signature coaching package that is really successful for your clients and for you and your business. Before I dive into that, a reminder that if you are a new coach, someone who has recently completed your coaching certification, do check out my Zero to Launch guide. I'm going to put a link to that in the description. It's a free guide that takes you through a step-by-step process to getting your coaching business all set up and ready to rock and roll. If you are at that stage, if you're thinking about signature coaching programs, then go and download that guide. That is really going to help you know exactly what you need to have in place so that you can make your business a success. So, what is a signature coaching program? A signature coaching program is all about you creating some kind of framework or methodology around the way that you work with someone. And it's really about taking your unique mix of skills and knowledge and applying that in a systematized way almost to how you work with people as a coach. It's really about what you stand for. It also kind of brings in things like your values. There's also almost like a messaging aspect to it. It's really about bringing together the elements that you see and the way that you specifically work with people around helping them through a very clear transformation. Ultimately, a signature coaching program is about having your system, your particular way of helping people create a transformation in their lives. That's what a signature coaching program is. Now, this differs from just like a regular old coaching program is because there is a very clear step-by-step systematized way of doing things, or you have a very clear methodology underneath it. You can coach people without that. And I'm going to talk about why that's a really good place to start. But you can coach people without having that underlying methodology or system or process or framework and still get people great results. But having a signature coaching program is really about taking that process, that method that is uniquely yours, and using that and applying that to people so that they create a transformation in their own lives. So that's the difference. When we're talking about a signature coaching program, it is about you putting your stamp on it, basically. This is about you saying, this is the way that I do that. It's basically about you saying, this is the way that I help people with this transformation. This is my unique way of doing it. This is why it's different to other people's way of doing it. This is why it ties into my values and what I stand for as a coach and in my business. And it's about presenting that and then having a process that people go through in that. When you've got a more general one-to-one coaching package, it might be that actually the way that you deliver that is a little bit more bespoke. But again, we can get into the nitty-gritty of it because there's still lots of space within a signature coaching program to give people an individualized approach. But ultimately, it is about you have developed some kind of signature methodology, framework, process, system that you are using to inform your work with people and to create that transformation. So why is it a good idea to have a signature coaching program in your health or life coaching business? There's various reasons why this is a really good idea. The first one is it really helps you stand out from other coaches. When you package it up in this way, when you really put your stamp on it, what it helps you do is differentiate your particular way of working, your particular process from other coaches. And that in itself is really powerful when it comes to standing out, for when people are going to buy into something that they can really see that you've got your own specific method or way of doing it. Another aspect of that, which is really beneficial, is that when people can see that you have this system, this way of approaching a particular transformation, it gives them more understanding about how they are going to get the result. So if they can understand and see, okay, so they're going to help me take these steps, and actually I can logically see why these steps make sense and why these steps are going to help me with this transformation, it gives them more trust in the process. They are much more likely to engage in a coaching package where they can kind of see the steps laid out and can logically see why this is going to get them from where they are now to where they want to be, to experience that transformation. So it can be really, really good in terms of just selling your coaching services by having this signature approach to it, because people really get to understand below the coaching. And again, coaching in its own right is quite a tricky thing to sell. It can be quite intangible. And what happens when we create a signature approach around that and that methodology or that system is it helps people to see something more tangibly. So that can be really powerful as well. Having a signature process also demonstrates that you actually know your shit. Like, to develop something like this, you do need to have a level of competence and understanding and knowledge to inform your work. Now, yes, you can absolutely just buy like signature coaching packages and and kind of use all of the stuff. Like, you can just kind of buy them online. People sell this kind of stuff, and that's fine. But I feel like there's something massively missing from that approach when it's versus something that you've actually created yourself that has really come out of the way that you work. So it really helps people to understand and really see the value that you are creating, and that you actually really, really know your stuff here because you've created this system. So it's really good for the know, like, and trust factor, for helping people see basically that you know your shit. Another reason why you need a signature coaching program is because it saves you time and streamlines the process. If you know that for many of your clients, you are taking them through a very similar process, it's going to save you time on delivery. It's going to make you more confident when you show up in coaching calls. It's going to mean that you can automate and systematize a lot of your back-end processes, because ultimately it's the same kind of pathway that you're taking people on. There's a big time-saving benefit, a big streamlining benefit from having a signature process as well. So those are a few reasons why it's a really good idea to have a signature coaching program. But one of the biggest benefits to creating a signature approach in your coaching business is that it gives you the opportunity to scale, specifically with group programs. If you know that there is a common pathway or a common way that you would work with someone who has a common set of challenges and a common aspiration, a place that they want to get to, then that is a really, really great foundation for scaling into group program territory. So that's a big reason why this can make a lot of sense to create this kind of approach in your business. Something that I've created in my own business, and I shared this on an episode of the show a couple of episodes back, is I have my own kind of method, my own framework that I use with health and life coaches. I explained that. I'll put a link to that episode of the show where it's 6 different areas. And within those 6 different areas, there's specific things that we look at. But the great thing about having this framework and the way that I use my particular framework is that I can apply that to many different situations, many different starting points, many different end points, and it still is really, really helpful, and it still helps people create a transformation in their businesses. So while it can make a lot of sense to have like a common kind of starting point and end point, and I would say most of my clients do tend to have that, when you have a really strong foundation, a really strong methodology, often that can be applied to people in a really bespoke way too. Another benefit of having a signature coaching package is that often you can charge a little bit more because, again, that tangibility is really evident. It's really clear the process that you're taking people through. You can charge more for your signature process because, again, it's unique, it's yours, it's your particular way of working with people. And again, it's much easier to have people buy into a set process that they can understand and see how it's going to help them reach their outcome. So these are all really great benefits. These are all really great reasons why you should think about having a signature coaching offer. So how do we start and create a signature coaching program for our health and life coaching business? I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide to the things that you want to think about, the ways that you want to do this, kind of how you might want to consider things so that you can create your own signature coaching program. So the first place to start, I believe, is to just coach people. This is like a lot of advice I think online kind of skips this, and I actually think it's really, really essential. You do want to start off with some kind of coaching package to begin with, and I've done an episode of the show where I talk about this. I'm going to link to that, and that will take you through just how to get started with creating I'm not going to say generic because it should never be generic, it should be your coaching program, but start off with a more general coaching program. That is the first place to start off with. And then what will likely happen is that as you deliver that coaching program to people, you will start to notice that there are commonalities between the way that you work with people, the kind of people that you're attracting, and you kind of start to see this journey is starting to take shape. I think this is really important to do this before you just jump in and create a method. It's really, really important to start off without that being so structured. So the way that I tend to talk about this with my clients when they're initially starting coaching is have your toolbox, like have your coaching toolbox prepared. And what I mean by that is you have the resources, the practices, the exercises, the actions that you would be suggesting to someone based on your experience, based on what you stand for as a coach, like all of that stuff, all of your knowledge, all of your expertise, all of that is mixed in together inside you as a coach. Have that toolbox, and then when you are working with people, you kind of dip into your toolbox and you pull out a tool and you use that to help them move them closer to their goal. And it's less structured, but you've got that toolbox. You're not kind of just going into coaching sessions and have no clue as to what you're going to do with these people or what you're going to help them with. Now, this again kind of brings us into a conversation about coaching versus mentoring, which is a very interesting conversation because pure coaching is not actually that goal orientated. If you're looking at pure coaching, the outcome could be something really far from actually what the person originally comes to you with if you go for pure coaching, whereas mentoring is much more led. There's a reason I call myself a business mentor, not a business coach, because the way that I work is much more directive. I'm going to link to that episode of the show as well, and I do suggest going and having a little look at that because it can help you just get your head around it. And again, I would say that most coaches do end up slightly more on the mentoring end because it's much easier to take people through a process, again, to create a signature process. And when you are creating a signature process, you are guiding people and leading people to a certain extent while still dipping into your coaching skills. Like I still dip into my skills as a coach very often, every single day, but there's more of the mentoring kind of framework around it. So again, really interesting things to think about. But step one is just to start off with delivering something that is a little bit more generic and not quite structured. When I say generic, I don't mean generic and that there's no kind of focus for your coaching, because obviously we want to have a focus. You've got your niche and that should be the framework for that. And we've got, in that episode of the show that I've linked to around creating your coaching package, we talk about the A to B method, which is basically where are people now? Point A, where do people want to get to? Point B, what is the bridge that we're going to draw? We're going to come back to that method because that is another way that you will create your signature method. But to begin with, we want to start off with coaching people that way because that is where we earn our stripes. Like that's where you really start to kind of see, a lot of the stuff that you've got in your toolbox is, until you're really working with clients, it's kind of a little bit theoretical. And I think it's really, really good practice to actually coach some people first before you start flashing about and saying that you've got a signature coaching program that isn't tested. Like this is the thing, like you need to be able to test out your concepts and ideas and have a process for that. So once you've worked with people in a more, quote unquote generic kind of style, and you've used your toolbox and you've started to see what will happen, and I honestly think this happens to most coaches, is that you will start to see a pattern emerge in terms of, I'm attracting these kind of clients. A lot of them are starting around about this point or have these kind of challenges in common with each other. They all kind of want to get to this place. I mean, this really does kind of come out of your niche. We're very much in that grey space between where what's going to be informed by your niche, what's going to be informed by your coaching package and your experience. It's all mixed in. But basically, you're going to start to see these commonalities. And obviously, that is going to be evident because you're going to be marketing and you've already niched yourself at this point. So that's going to be evident, but you're going to see it more strongly. I think when you work with people, you're going to start to see it more strongly. This is what's happened with me, is that you start to see more specifically, like, there's actually quite a specific kind of person that I'm attracting through my messaging and through my niche and what it is that I'm saying. And that's when you start to think, right, okay, I am always using this particular thing. I'm always talking about this thing. I'm always guiding people through this thing. And you start to see that this happens. Like, all of your clients are all working on similar things at the same time. And that is when it's like, right, this is the signature method starting to come out. So once you've kind of started to see those similarities, and it might be that you work with 5 or 6 clients more generally until you start to see some of these patterns kind of start to come out, and that's the point when it's like, right, okay, I've started to see that this could be a signature offer, that this could be put into a method or a system. So to summarise that up, step 1 is all about putting out a generic but not generic coaching package and basically earning your stripes, working with a few clients through that and starting to look for the commonalities, testing out some of the tools in your coach's toolbox to see what is working with people, what is helping them get results, and basically like testing out any theories that you have around the things that you want to apply to people, that you want to take people through, the actions you want to have them take, all of that kind of thing. Once you've done that and you've worked with a few people through that initial coaching package, then it's time to start looking at the commonalities between the people that you've been working with and get onto the kind of stage 2 of starting to refine this journey down and actually starting to put together what you believe is your signature framework at that point. So the way that I would approach this is to, again, just really think about that A to B method. So where people are when they begin working with you, what are their challenges, how are they experiencing life, and that should be a more refined version of the version that you did for the initial coaching package. And then to point B, where it is that they want to get to. Again, this should be a much kind of tighter, more specific kind of transformation that you were taking people through. Once you have that really clear, you can start to build out what looks like your kind of framework underneath that. Like, what specific things are you going to take people through? What is this common journey, this common framework, this common system that you are going to use with people who are experiencing these things and who want to experience this transformation? What does that look like? If you want to see an example of this, you can go and check out Wholehearted Business. It is actually, this episode of the show comes out on Monday the 23rd of September 2024. You have a few hours still to join Wholehearted Business if that is something that you're interested in. So go and have a look at the Wholehearted Business page and you will see that I've got my framework's kind of there. It's 6 key things that I work with people through. Obviously, it's a business point of view, and underneath you'll see the trainings that apply to that. I did do an episode of the show actually all on that, which you can check out. I'll put a link to that where I talked about the 6 different key areas of your business. So that version, my kind of version of a signature framework, is still quite broad, and I can apply that to lots of different situations, coaches, and lots of different starting points and end points because of the way that I've set that up. It's kind of my way of working with people, and it is quite broad. Yours might be a similar kind of setup, or it might be much more specific. So there's no right or wrong. It is really about you. It's about having a process that is yours. Ultimately, that's what a signature coaching program is. A process that you have created, that is yours, that is your unique way of putting these pieces together. Like, nothing is original anymore. It's unlikely that everything in your coaching, your signature offer is going to be completely original, but the way that you put it together, the you that you put into it, that is what is going to make it your signature coaching program. At this stage, you also want to think about how many sessions do people need to have? How long is this going to run over? Is there any particular resources or any other support that you want to give people within this package of support that is going to help them with that transformation as part of your system? It might be that when you have created this methodology and this system and this, underlying framework, that there are actually resources that you can create to help people move through it more quickly. Again, going back to what we talked about with the benefits of having a signature coaching program. So think about all of those things, and at the end of it, you should have kind of the initial version of your signature coaching program. Step 3 is to then go and test it. So a great way to do this is obviously just to get some clients in, actually take them through that very specific way of working. And again, it should feel slightly different from the way that you've worked before, because you are taking people through often a step-by-step process, or you are coming back to a framework that informs the way that you're working with them, rather than it just being a little bit kind of random or not as specific as it is now. So consider those things, test it out, see what kind of results people are getting, see how people feel about it. Then you want to tweak it, and then at that point you should be feeling really confident about your signature coaching program, which is amazing. You've tested it, you've seen that people are getting results, you've maybe tweaked things, and then you have that signature program. The next step is to put together, if you haven't already, as part of the testing process, to put together a sales page, because again, writing a sales page for a signature coaching program should feel a lot easier than writing a sales page for something that is a bit more generic, because again, you've got very clear examples and very clear process that you're going to take people through. It should be a lot easier to communicate about what that is and what that transformation is going to be and how you're going to help people receive that transformation. Once you've got that sales page in place, it's time to go out and sell it. Again, think about your kind of like sales processes. Again, this is kind of dipping into my own framework, what I've got in place. And one part of the framework is your sales, and it's to see sales as a unique part of your work and is like a actual process in its own right. So many coaches have no kind of sales processes in place or thought out sales processes. So you're going to want to sell it. You're going to want to have a sales process. And then once you've done that program with a few people on a one-to-one basis, then the invitation is there to explore scaling. And this is where things get really juicy and exciting. And this is where you've got the opportunity to scale this into things like group programs, potentially also online courses. But a group program is a fantastic place to start. And again, I have another episode of the show all about group programs if you want to dive into that. And obviously, this is what I've done with Wholehearted Business, is I've worked with a number of clients on a one-to-one basis. Wholehearted Business actually started as a mastermind kind of style group quite a while ago, and for me the Wholehearted Business kind of framework kind of came out from that process as well as the one-to-one stuff. But what I basically started to see was that I'm looking at all of these areas with people. This is the way that I put, like, this is how I do this. Like, this is what the signature thing is all about. It's like, this is how I do it. This is how you do it. This is the way that you work with people that is uniquely yours. And that unique word is not something that you need to be afraid of. I know that it used to make me kind of scared, thinking, well, like, how am I going to make this unique to me? But it's the way that you put all of these things together. It's the way that you combine concepts. It's the way that you bring together tools and actions. And, you know, it's how you bring all of that stuff together that is going to make it so powerful and so signature. And that's what I've done in Wholehearted Business with this particular kind of framework. And again, I dip into and use this with all of my clients, really. But inside Wholehearted Business, it is like the framework that we come back to on a regular basis. So I hope that's given you some thoughts. So just to run through those different things again, we've talked a bit about why having a signature coaching program makes a lot of sense, how it differs from just a more generic, although, like I said, we don't want to be doing completely generic because we're going to have a niche, but from a more generalized coaching package to something that is more signature and more specific. We've talked about the benefits of doing that in terms of having the options to scale, about being able to charge more for that, about saving you time, so on. We've looked at the different steps. You want to deliver that more generalized coaching package, learn from that experience, seeing what works with people, try things out, refine that down, look at that really specific transformation that you're going to be taking people through, and then build that out into your actual process. Once you have that, you're going to test it with people. You are then going to sell it, and then potentially, if you want to, scale it as well. So that is how you start to come up with a signature coaching package. Obviously, this is something that I do support people with in my one-to-one mentoring. So I will put a link to that. Do go and check that out as well. If that is something that you're interested in exploring, give me a shout. And yeah, last call for Wholehearted Business. If anyone is interested in jumping in, if you are listening or watching this on the 23rd of September, come and jump in. We are starting, we're closing the doors tonight, so come and jump in. And yeah, again, if you are a new coach and you are at the start of your coaching business journey, go and download the Zero to Launch guide. That will take you through a step-by-step process in terms of all the things that you have in place to launch your business. I hope, as always, that that's been helpful. Give me a thumbs up, like and subscribe. If you are watching on YouTube, leave me a comment, let me know what you've enjoyed about this episode of the show. And as always, if you have any feedback, any thoughts, you can pop me a DM on Instagram. I'm at wholeheartedlylaura. As always, guys, I hope that's been super, super useful, and I will see you next week, guys. Take care. Bye.